y'all doing? Um, so I'm Gabriel, and today we're going to code some breaches. We're going to take data from publicly available breaches, news articles, and things like that, and we're going to turn them into structured data. It's going to be super exciting. Let's get started. So we're going to do this through the Varus community database. This is a open GitHub. Everyone can see it. Everyone can use it. All the data is available free. All the breaches are public. We collect breaches as we find them in news articles and such in the issues list. We have about 6,000 closed, but about 7,000 open. So it's not always a winning battle. Still, we have a lot of breaches to go through. I'm going to go and pick out things that are assigned. I think my queue is mostly empty. Oh yeah, this one. I talked to Suzanne about it, and so I'm going to code this one up, and then we'll go on and do some of Alex's. And by the way, for those who are curious, we are equal opportunists. We do Verizon breaches just the same as we do any others. So let's go and code my one breach up. We're using the Varus community web app. This is in the Varus repository, so if you go to Varus bin, this one HTML file is everything. It doesn't have any external dependencies. It doesn't call home anything. It'll run in Chrome, Firefox, or Edge. We've got a permission issue that we haven't quite figured out with Safari, but otherwise it pretty much runs. And the nice thing is that you can use it to code your own breaches. And so if you're an organization that has incidents or breaches, you can take what, a lot of times are text records, a PDF or something. You can turn them into structured data that you can analyze to see what's happening in your own organization. And so let's go back to our issue list here. We have a W2 and Kroger Equifax issue. And so let's see what is going on. W2 issues were a lot bigger back in like the 2016 timeframe, which means this should probably be going into the 2017 report. Let's see. So we'll start with the Krebs one because I think that was the original. Identity thieves stole tax and salary data from Equifax. Line-based Equifax's W2 Express site made W2 forms accessible for download for many companies with employees. According to the letter sent to thieves, were able to access merely by entering the Equifax portal the employee's default PIN code. Oh, great. Well, that's nice. Which is nothing more than the last 4 digits of the employee's social security number. Because how does that even work? Okay, so the last 4, if you give people that's only 1,000, or 10,000 digits. 9,999. That's kind of in the guessable range. Nothing more than the last 4 digits. Employee social security number appears the unknown individuals. Website using default login based on the social and date of birth, which were believed were obtained from some other source, such as a prior data breach or other institutions. Oh, that's interesting. They didn't even have to brute force it. It sounded like they already had the data. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, so do we have any data about when this happened? The news article is from May 16th. So, let's see, we confirmed. Mark this as mark down the issue 7,000. We haven't done one that old in a while. And we'll copy in all these references. Got one here. Another one here. And we've got a third. Let's see. Did I get the comment there? Yeah. By the way, we're going to end on time today. I've got a meeting after this one, so we probably won't run over, particularly since I'm already at my quota for the week. Summary. Default login to victim, to compromise, or to asset website was personal info of individual. Attackers used already known info to scrape W2 information. You know, and I wonder if it's not really, if Equifax should be the victim, or if Equifax should be the victim, because they talk about being Kroger, but they just mentioned that Kroger was one of the companies. And so, you know, I think Kroger is more of a secondary victim, and really this is Equifax as the primary victim. Confidence, say a high timeline, and this is where this is not completely clear. Let's see. When did this happen? Update May 7th, added Northwestern information. Okay. Kroger notifies its employees, and that's why we know about this, because Kroger notified its employees. Did not respond to an email on April 29th. So there's a big surprise. We'll just say, from a timeline perspective, we really don't have a lot of information at all here. We only have really, this happened in 2016. It would have happened when tax information was available, so after the end of the year, but before tax day, but that doesn't really narrow it down enough to do anything specific. Sorry about the sound of the printer. Yeah, I will get that turned off here in a minute. Okay. So compromise, unit, unknown, filtration. Again, we don't know. Discovery, we don't know. And containment, we don't know. And so close all those things down. The victim, I'm going to put Equifax in here. And frankly, we could probably just look Equifax up in the data set. So figure out what we've coded them before. Oh, that's a long summary. Let's take the top one of these. See one where is there anywhere it clearly says they're the victim? I mean, it's not that uncommon. So Equifax, well, let's find victim. Yeah, victim ID, Equifax Incorporated. Ink on here. Put these over here. And then victim could just take all this information. Industry, that's a 10,000, region, state, and then country is United States. And then secondary victims, we know of at least 3. Does it? I don't know if it says anywhere how many there were. It says that Northwestern University, Stanford University, in reality is probably a ton of organizations which never even realize it, right? Because the attackers just had a bunch of personal information, just fed it into this portal, hoping to get hits. You know, and anytime they had it, they probably got it. So we'll put down the ones that we know. Add 10, Kroger, and Northwestern University. Okay. Those are victim information, and then the actions, and this includes the actions on target. So I'm gonna mark this use of stolen credentials. Find it in here, because the hackers really used, from the sound of it, they used credentials, even though it's not a login and password. We'll put that in here. Credentials were social, or SN and date of birth. I guess name, social security number, and date of birth. Access was through a web application. That was used for exfiltration. They really didn't even infiltrate. They didn't have any access inside the organization. They just exfiltrated the data. And this is really, again, one of those like one action attacks. This was by an external actor. This was someone organized because they had data and the ability to automate the attack, looking for financial information. We don't know where they were from. There's not a lot of information on who the attacker was. The asset sounded like it was a single web app. So server, web application. We really don't know the rest of the information. We don't know what kind of asset it was. And finally, the attribute was confidentiality, disclosure, totals. We know of at least, what was it, 6,000 or 7,000 employees more. That's not how many people had their information stolen, though. There's 150 here, so that's 750. How many at Kroger? Because Kroger was a rather large one, right? 14, so breach, indication is that phishing incident on the W2 system was hacked. This is a phishing incident, or that, well, that's really helpful, right? It was hacked or it was phishing. You just say you don't know, or just leave that part out. Yeah, they really don't say how many were at, how many victims there were. And we know it's a large number, but I don't want to put it in there because I don't want to undersell the number, right? Because it could have been several hundred, or it could have been several thousand, in fact. At Kroger, we just don't know. 50 victims, that doesn't include the number at Kroger. And the problem is this data was almost assuredly abused, but we really don't know. Like, because of the way the article is written and when, it isn't clear whether any kind of crime occurred. So we'll mark that. Then go on, targeted. Yeah. I'm going to put this as opportunistic because the motive was not to target Equifax or to target something only Equifax had. It was to target, it was the opportunity that really drove the choice. It was the fact that there was a easy to exploit way to gather this information, and Equifax just ended up being the easiest method to do it. Discovery method is unknown. We don't really have any information about it, but we do have some value chain, right? Because we had some targeting of, let's see, email, lost or stolen credentials. I think personal information is in here, yeah. The personal information had to be gleaned to target the individuals on the system, and that was what really contributed to the attack before. And then cash out for this is going to be tax fraud, and we don't know anything about money laundering or not. So impact overall rating, and the reality is that they just kind of disclosed it and went, whoops, sorry. And so it didn't really impact the victim. Plus, this was, I believe, a random assignment. Yep. It's a random assignment. The value chain was a hacking action by an external actor on a server, leading to a compromise of confidentiality. And that is really the breach. So we'll mark that validated and see if we missed anything. We did not. And like always, I'm going to copy this out into a text file just to make sure I have an extra copy of it in case, the web browser crashes. This is all stored. If you use this web app, it's stored in the local browser memory for the site. But, it is possible that something will come up, and something will be lost. And so this is just a backup. This is also a secondary backup is the archive. And so when you hit export, you get a zip file of all your breaches that you've coded, but it moves them in memory to the archive. That way, if you export it and then you accidentally immediately delete the file before you store it or something, you have kind of this secondary buffer. Because these things take a while to do, and a lot of times, someone might spend half a day doing it. And if you've watched the streams, you see it takes about 15 minutes. We can get 3 or 4 done an hour. And so if you spend half a day, you're going to have over a dozen of these. And that's kind of a painful thing to lose. Because I tell you, coding the same incident a second time is twice as boring as the first time you coded it. So let's close these. We've closed the issue. And now when we go back, we're going to go look at what's assigned to Alex. So we'll look at Alex's list. I'm going to work down some of these priority ones. Didn't we do the XKCD one? Let's go check real quick to see. I thought that we did it, but maybe we didn't close it. Or maybe we skipped over it because, I guess we didn't do it, but we skipped it because it didn't really have as much information. So we left it for later. We'll do this one here. Oh, that's not helpful. Okay, so what is this? And scraped user phone numbers exposed. Oh, in lieu of that article, we'll find something else. And this is a very recent one. So we'll add this other reference back in here. Yeah. Is that why it was for the KCD one? Yeah. I should go back and label that. If there wasn't enough info, I should have tagged it that way. And I'll go do that now. So we've got that tag. We'll get back to what we were doing here. Oh, one too many. Alex's and back to the Facebook one. Okay. Hundreds of millions of phone numbers. Oh yeah. And so on the XKCD one, for technical organizations, particularly the mature ones, they tend to be willing to talk about, what happened and why once they understand it and figured it out and closed it. So I kind of hope that, by giving a little bit of time, maybe they'll kind of come in with a full post-mortem. I expect it to be just a PHP bulletin board vulnerability, like a COT, just a common one, but, we really won't know until they say. So hundreds of millions of phone numbers linked to Facebook accounts have been found online. Yes, that's the problem. Is there's not going to be a lot of detail in this one. We know that the data was breached, but we don't know when and how. The exposed server contained more than... excuse me, I've got a cold today, so I don't sound great. More than 419 million records over several databases on users across geographies, including 133 million. Okay, lots of people. But because servers weren't protected with a password, anyone could find and access the database. So like a internet scan tool. So an exposed database, each record contained a user's unique ID, Facebook ID, the phone number listed on the account. A user's Facebook ID is typically a long, unique string. Phone numbers have not been public in more than a year. Excuse me. TechCrunch verified a number of records in the database by matching a known Facebook user's phone number against their listed Facebook ID. And so where were these stored? It's not clear. DI Foundation database contacted about. Okay. So the breach is really of whoever was storing these. It's not so much of Facebook, who just had their data scraped. But where does it say? This is the latest security labs, Cambridge Analytica, Instagram. Sanyan Jane, a security researcher. Is that who found it? Blah, blah, blah. So do we have victim information at all here? Is it just Facebook dot? Okay, so we got a screenshot. So the UK database. Exposed server contained hundreds of millions. This is driving me nuts because this should not be this hard to figure out. Let's see. Let's go and search for the same thing, and maybe we can find. It's more than likely there's like an actual. It's got to be something here. Like this shouldn't be this hard. So Jane, the researcher, remember that I found the database. Okay, so maybe we can search for this person. Okay, Facebook leak. Where did they disclose it? Did they like literally just kind of shop it around to all the IT publications? Researcher discovered the database, which included phone numbers. However, it's not clear who pulled the information from Facebook or why the database included 133. So we may not even know the victim in this case. I might add that in here. Lacks victim. Well, it lacks victim, but we have timeline. I'm gonna skip. Let's see, can I get away with skipping victim? We may just have to put this in with an unknown victim. Come on. Employee count unknown, victim ID known, one. So we really kind of know everything else. Can't believe they don't know who owned the server. But maybe that's the case. These all came out on September 4th, so it's got to have happened right about then. Confidence low. Use any one of these as references, but I think this is the one we put back in here. So the story is kind of the same on all the sites. Be consistent. That's the correct year, and then confirmed summary. Open server found with databases of phone numbers scraped from Facebook but server owner unknown. So, okay. Timeline, incident 2019. We'll say September and 4th. Come on. Compromise was probably minutes to access the server. Exfiltration, minutes to get the data. Discovery was probably hours because the discoverers turn around and tell the news organizations. And containment is unknown. We don't know if they actually contained it or not. So, did they talk about it being taken offline? I mean, they don't even know who owns the server, so yeah. I mean, what's the chance that they actually could do that? So, region is unknown. Okay. So, state, we'll skip this, close victims, and then actions. This was error by a sysadmin. So, misconfiguration, and we don't know why. By an internal actor. So again, this is the sysadmin, and the motive, there's no motive because it was an accident. Then the attribute is confidentiality, or the asset. One server, database server. Amount 1. And we really don't know anything about the hosting other than it was a database server because they keep saying it had databases on it. Disclosure, yes. Then this is the really interesting one. What was the total number of records? 419 million. And this is personal data, primarily phone numbers. And stored unencrypted of customer, well, really other. The data didn't really belong. There was no real relationship between the victim and the owners of the data, because the owners of the data would be Facebook's customers, but not the victim's customers. In the victim and the owners of the data, and the data victims. Data abuse. No, this was a researcher who found it to disclose it to, help their own credibility. Discovery method says unrelated third party. That's what we use when it's a security researcher. Value chain really doesn't apply. Impact, insignificant at best. The victim didn't do anything about it. This was a priority assignment because of the number of records, and the value chain was an error by an internal actor on a server led to compromise of confidentiality. So we'll close that down. Market validated. We forgot timeline, incident month. So I didn't think that was required. What did I miss? Oh, I switched them. Oh no, this was supposed to be 9. That's what I did. Okay. Yay! Thanks for more advanced validation in the schema. So we'll copy that. Create another issue, and we'll add a third one here, and we'll close this one. I'll make a note here. No victim data. Mark, look, not the victim. Site storing scraped data is the victim. We'll close that one down. And let's see what else we can pick up. Got about half an hour, maybe enough time to do 2 more. We're gonna skip the XKCD one, and we'll do attackers, ransom booksellers, exposed Mongo database. I kind of like that one. That's amusing. See how it turned out. And return to do another one. And attackers, ransom booksellers, exposed Mongo database. Exposing MongoDB databases, yada yada yada, has become money. Is this a little bit older? No, it's actually new. The ransoming of Mongo databases was kind of a bigger thing maybe about a year ago or so. Maybe last summer. Now it's kind of, we see more of security researchers disclosing than we do outright ransomware or ransoming. Mid-July, another database fell victim to extortion. The attackers contained 1.2 million records belonging to a well-known Mexican publisher and bookseller. It's not certain how many individuals, customers were affected. But purchased information included details of 1.2 million names. So how did the ransom work? There are 950 records revealed. So clearly the news organization knows about what's in the database. Discovered by it was discovered by a security researcher the day after it was first indexed by Shodan. Okay. He explained how he immediately contacted the company. Fortunately, by 18 July, criminals had spotted and wiped the database, leaving a demand for 500th, 1/20th of a Bitcoin. Next day, according to the now empty database, was disabled by someone, presumably. Okay. So, 1 August, nobody has contacted the researcher regarding his discovery. The previous incident involving exposed database, the MongoDB instance, was accessible by anyone. So this is actually 2 different breaches, and we're going to code it twice. The first is for the security researcher, which would be an error, where because of the configuration. But then when the malicious actor effectively ransom it, we'll code a second one for the ransomware breach. So this is going to be one of those rare cases where we have 2 breaches associated with a single GitHub ID. Okay, let's go and do something unique. GitHub reference for both of them. Summary, breach 1, researcher found and disclosed public MongoDB database. Confidence, high. Timeline. This happened on July 15th. 15. And again, it probably took maybe minutes, probably a pre-canned Shodan search or something. And minutes to exfiltrate the data. Discovery, probably hours, or this was disclosed in August 6th. So it may not have been disclosed for a few months. And then, but they had to have discovered it the next day. But they didn't discover this one from us. This one took months to discover because he didn't change anything. And then we don't know if they ever did anything about it. Oh, you know what? I can mark this as never. But containment really doesn't apply in this case. It's not no. I don't know. Could I mark this as never? Because it was disclosed and then the database was wiped. So, So we've got never as a enumeration for containment, and really for all these. But the joke is that there's never a way to code it because you never know that it never happened, that they never contained it. And so for a second there, I'm like, maybe I could code like since the second breach happened and maybe precluded precluded containing the first breach. Maybe you could mark that as never. I'm super tempted to mark it as never. I'm gonna mark it as never. We never get a never in there. No, because it'll show up in the data and then someone will ask questions about it and it'll be confusing to people. I can imagine like when we're doing our interviews related to like the DBR and they're like, how did you get a never? It's like, that's a funny story. Maybe I'll put a note up here. Actually, we'll put it in the analyst's notes. Really? Containment unit.never due to the breach the next day precluding containment the first breach. No, I'm going to do it. I think it makes sense. I'll mark this never, and we'll let the cards fall where they may. We can always go back and fix it later. We have a validation process. The victim was Iberia Perugia. That's a good point. I like that even better. It was contained in one day by the other breach. I agree with that logic, and we'll change it back. Days, days. Then you discover on the 15th. Unfortunately, by 18 July, we'll say 3 days. It was contained. So who is this? Here. Go back, and we have a Google window open for this purpose. Not as much information. So oh good, it just directs us to their LinkedIn page. Well, I can search LinkedIn. That's within my skills. Let's see what LinkedIn says. Not a lot. Okay. Yes, let's translate. Cards, activation. Know us. Mission vision, present. Continues to expand and put more than 60 libraries located in different states on Ashtar the service to the public. Also manages 2 concepts for the sale of books. First is the traditional bookstores. I'm going to mark this as a large company without any additional data, because I don't think we really have a whole lot of details. See. What would libraries and archives? We'll start with this, and then I'll see if maybe bookstores is also in here. In any kind of way, shape, or form. Come on. Right here. Cursor. Okay, that's odd. I don't know why it's not letting me search this. It's like it isn't listening to this page. Okay. Here we go. So there's book printing, book wholesalers, bookstores, book publishers. How are they described in the article? Publisher and bookseller. Okay, so maybe instead of library, we'll do newspaper on books and direct publishers. Do that instead, I think. Locations affected. 1. This is Mexican. So, see. What is Mexico? I just realized I don't know Mexico's Alpha 2 off the top of my head. No, we could search for it. Oh, nope, that's region. I need SO 1366 Alpha 2. So Mexico MX. Wait, did I just not go down far enough? There are a lot of M's here. Okie dokie. Okay, and question is Mexico. I would assume that they would be North America, but they may count as Central America. Again, my geography is what it is, to be honest. Okay, now we do need the M49. My son is in 3rd grade, and so he's having to learn geography and continents and states and everything. I'll be honest, that is not my strong suit. So yeah, Mexico is going to count for North America. Okay, states. Does it say where they're located? They're kind of located throughout. So it's Mexico City. So what state is Mexico City in? Mexico City is location, population, humidity. State. What state? Government founded country within Mexico. Oh, that's smart. Am I missing this somewhere? Here. Let's find Mexico here. Yeah, 31 states. So special. Oh, okay. Well, now I don't feel so bad. A special state being a federal district is officially called federal district. Okay. So, what is it? Mexico City is MXDF. Yeah, you notice like I like this is my my geography homework is coding these. Maybe I can get my son to like code breaches as part of his geography homework. You know, kind of dual use, so to speak. So victims, actions. This was right just exposed. This one was an error, a misconfiguration, which was by an internal actor, system admin, with no motive. Like my understanding is it's not child labor if they're doing it for their parents. Yeah. Otherwise, there's a lot of cleaning the living room that's become a lot of child labor. Yeah, that's not my area of expertise. I'll defer to someone else. Okay, well, assets. One database server. Located in Mexico. And confidentiality was disclosed of, let's say 1.2 million. So 1,200,000, yada, yada, yada. And this is personal information, really. Email addresses, shopping carts, phone numbers, says invoice purchases, activation codes, token, hash. I mean, yeah. Personal information of customers, stored unencrypted, and data abuse. In this case, no. And we go down to targeted. So it's opportunistic. It just was found on Showdown. It was discovered by an unrelated third party. And there's no value chain to this one. The impact is going to be, this impact is going to be insignificant. And this was a priority assignment, right? Yeah. And finally, the event chain. An error by an internal actor on a server led to a compromise of confidentiality. I'll mark this one validated. And what did we do for year? We must have made a mistake. Incident, yeah. I'm getting lazy apparently. So we'll save that. And we'll copy that out. And we'll do the exact same thing again. Bassett. And I'm going to put the incident ID in here. One error, one ransomware, IDs, and so, and there's another link here. Security incident confirmed. The GitHub ID. The reference. I think I reference in here. Summary in this case. Reach 2 for GitHub ID. Database deleted and ransomed. Okay, so seems pretty obvious what happened here. Timeline, send this in 2019, July 18th. Compromise again, probably the same way. Minutes. May have taken. See, in this case, exfiltration didn't happen, but compromise probably took. Yeah, we'll leave it at minutes, but they did have to download, this entire database. And that could have taken some time. Discovery should have been hours at best because they deleted the database. Containment is, in this case, is unknown. Okay. Victim, we can copy the victim information from here. So we'll use the same data here. Employee count, I think we said large. Industry 511130. Locations affected 1. Mexico. We cited DF. The state and the region was North America. No more secondary victims, so that's our victim part. Now the action, in this case, this is going to be hacking, exploit misconfiguration. Vector was through, I mean, it's really through network access to the server directly, it sounds like. No. So what was that screenshot, right? Or do they have one? I guess they're accessing the server, yeah, because the Mongo database was directly on the internet. And so, let's see. Not really a shell. VPN, other, and this mark. Direct server access from internet. Oh yeah, and we do need to mark exfiltration because they download the database. So this one's going to be a breach of confidentiality and availability. Exfiltration, probably minutes to download the database. This was for exfiltration, and was that actor, external, someone who was doing this pretty consistently. They found it just as quickly as the security researcher did, and clearly doing it for financial since they asked for a ransom, but we don't know where they're located, and we rarely do. So we'll close the actor. The asset again was one. Whoops. Asset was one server. Server database. And we really should put MongoDB down here. In Mexico, mount one server. And the attribute, we have two. We have the compromise of the data. And again, 1.2 million records at least. Actually, this time I'm going to count all of the... I probably should do this for the other one as well. Do 2.1 total records, but 1.2 million records of personal data. We really don't know what the rest of it is. Unless you're counting. There are also records revealing most above data fields plus. Oh, okay. Well, you know, then I should change this one to 2.1 million instead, because it's the same thing plus date of birth records. Customer data stored unencrypted. Data abuse, yes. Well, I don't know. It's unknown whether they sold the data or did something malicious with it, other than compromising availability. Where, see. Really, I mean, it's not even obscuration, because they really lost it. And how long did they lose it? Months at least. Because it doesn't sound like it had been. Database was disabled. Oh, okay. Then it was disabled by someone, presumably in response to the attack. Okay, so we do have. We can go back up here, and containment was, well, days 1. And actually, hours. We'll say 24. It's a little bit more accurate. Contacted August 1st. The database was just disabled. We don't really know if they paid the ransom or not. So loss, but we don't really know how long. We don't know. My guess is they paid the ransom and removed the database. But for 500 bucks, like, it's not exactly a large amount. Clearly opportunistic. Discovery method, again, this was discovered internally, and so this was disclosed by the threat actor. Even though the security researcher discovered it. Internal partner, value chain, cash out was going to be cryptocurrency, targeting, misconfigurations. That's really kind of it. You need the ability to download a database. Impact Overall rating, you know, I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends whether they paid the ransom or not. If they paid the ransom, it was probably insignificant. Priority, event chain, and external actor using hacking. Breached a server, and we'll code really the availability, the integrity. And this is one of the limitations of the path data is you can only have one of each of these per step. You know, notionally, we could put a confidentiality and then an availability step, but it would make it look like there were more steps in this than there really were. We don't want to put in modified, that gets filled in automatically. We'll validate this one and we'll save it. And so we'll just close this. And that takes us to just about the top of the hour. And so I'm going to finish it up there. Thank you, everyone, for joining me. I appreciate you coming along. I won't be streaming tomorrow. I kind of want to do a analysis stream, but I'll be speaking at InfoSec Nashville, the ISSA conference here in town. And so, you know, if you're in the Nashville area, you're welcome to come by and say hi. Otherwise, I will try to see you next Tuesday at 10 a.m. Eastern. If I don't see you before, have a great weekend. Thank you.